Of course, climate is affecting our sport. I can tell you not so much if we speak about cancellations. We had some cancellation last season, especially for the alpine. For cross country and other disciplines is different because they can deal with more or less every weather condition, even if it's heavy snow, and sometimes we have too much snow to deal with. Sometimes is lack of snow, but we can see that definitely alpine is the most affected discipline. And yeah, we don't speak about a very high number of cancellation. And of course, sometimes it's not due to climate change, it's due to weather, because we cannot, give the green light to the athletes if there is a very heavy wind, for example. The same is for ski jump. So, well, if you see cancellation, we are speaking about lack of snow, which is very linked to the climate change, too much snow sometimes, and wind. Yeah. We canceled 2 races last season for too much snow, which is, sometimes it happens and it depends, of course, on the calendar. But then if you go in the past, then you see the same weekend never happened. So you can see this change in the patterns if we speak about weather, but it's not only we don't have snow. Sometimes is we have too much snow, and we can see this also in the past. Of course, 20 years ago, maybe not so much cancellation, but then we had cancellation 20 years ago due to, again, too much snow, lack of snow, or wind. So we can see a change, and we are more careful about the calendars, and especially we are more careful to take into consideration also the weather pattern. So just to understand, okay, this resort is maybe too low. So in February, as usual, they have snow. If you go there in December now, we can see the season start early, and it prolongs more sometimes in March, even if the snow is not so good as in January. Of course, it's a different type of snow, but the season is a bit change in, like, we can start in December and go more in March. So yeah, something is changing. It's not so easy because we don't have direct contact with the ski resorts. We have direct contact with the National Ski Association and sometimes with the local organizing committees, but not directly with the ski resort. But of course, when we have to design the calendars, we have to take into consideration the climate change, but also the local organizing committee and the community. And sometimes it's not so easy to change, for example, the calendar, because the local community don't want to change that specific spot because it's linked to, holidays or not peak season or volunteers. So we have to deal with also the social side. And this is the reason why it's not so easy to take a map and decide, okay, we start in France and then, we end in Scandinavia, like in a linear way, because we can reduce the CO2 emission related to travels. We try to do in this way, but it's impossible. It's like you have to deal with, for example, in Alpine, Adelboden is more or less every year at the same period. The same for Kitzbühel, the same for Cortina. And they want to keep that specific period because the people know, because they have volunteers, because it's not high season. So there is not this cross between tourists and the athletes and all the people that requires accommodation. They can sell the accommodation with a very high price in the peak season, and if we go there and we take all the accommodation, is something like they lose money. So we have to deal with all these specific topics. No, I think, of course, you can take all the scientific models. Now we have a partnership with the WMO, the Meteorological Organization, especially for this reason. They can help us to better communicate, but also to use the science to help our winter community to really understand. Then, if you speak about adaptation, is not so easy. Now the focus is more about the reduction. Adaptation is another step, in my opinion. It's a very important one. But to adapt, you have to really understand. There is no other solution. So we are not there yet, I think. It's definitely a temporary solution. I mean, I don't know about the future, but I think maybe in 8 years we will not have snow, natural snow, but also the temperature to make artificial snow. So then we'll see. But for now, it's a very important integration to the natural snow, especially for some of our ski resorts. But then we can see in the north, especially, they started to save snow from one season to another. I have to go in Levi this week, and Levi is in Finland, and they save more or less than 90% of the first layer for, yeah, there is this new technology is a tarpaulin, a cover. So they just put the snow very close to the ski slope. They put together, and then they cover with this tarpaulin. And at the end of the summer, they can just take it and put the first layer on the slope, and they can use more or less the 90% of the snow they have at the end of the season. They can reuse at the beginning for the first layer, and then they can build up starting from that. And of course they have also natural snow, and they can tell me, to be honest, they are trying also in Alps, and sometimes for the higher ski resort, you can use this technology as well. So you can really use the snow at the end of the season and save it for the beginning of the next one. At a certain point, you don't have, something higher to go. And in my opinion, what we have now, I mean, we have higher ski resort. We were in Zolden to have the first race of the Alpine 2 weeks ago. And it works because it's a glacier, and it was an amazing race this year, even if it's late October, let me say. Um, but then no way to, in my opinion, no way to build a new infrastructure to go higher if you have, to touch the nature and the biodiversity. Of course, it's one of the most important role that FIS has, is really to help the community to find the best way they can to reduce their impact in organizing the events. What we are doing is providing specific training courses. We did this summer for everyone inside the FIS family, including the FIS staff, but also we have, for example, this round of webinars to go deep dive. So again, raise awareness, let me say. Then we started 3 weeks ago. We launched a new calculator, CO2 calculator, and I think it's very, very important because it's not a normal calculator as other industries are using, because it's a kind of design calculator. So the local organizing committee can really go inside the tool and understand immediately if it's better the option A or the option B. If we speak about, I don't know, I can give you some more example. The recycle bibs, okay. you know the difference in price, and you can use the calculator to understand the reduction in CO2 emission if you decided to use only recycled bibs. You can put inside the numbers, so you need 2,000 bibs, and you can see if you buy this in recycled materials or in traditional materials. You see immediately the difference in CO2 emission. This applies to everything related to an organization of an event, a ski event. So you can go inside and check about the snow management, the best option you can put inside your ski resort or your event, the transport of people, the transport of goods, the food and beverage, the waste production, the water usage and treatment. We have everything inside. We spend 10 months to map in Norway 7 events as a pilot, and then we designed this tailor-made tool for the ski events to really give them something which is not a traditional calculator. As usual, you take the data coming from an event, so you run the event, you collect the data, you use the data to calculate the CO2 emission, and then you start to think about the reduction. And then it's difficult to understand what's the best option you have. I mean, it's better to put your money on this, or this. So inside the reduction plan is not really easy to understand this. And then another event is already there. So you are in urgency and it's like, okay, we have to run another event. It's very difficult really to think about the reduction. If you can use this tool in advance, so in the design phase, you can sit with all your directors and colleagues and just understand, okay, this is the budget, this is the option we have, what's the best one to really reduce the CO2 emission? And you can see immediately if, I don't know, buying green energy is better than the traditional energy, and it's better a lot, but you can know the price, the difference in price, and you can say, hey, it's better to pay this difference and to have this very huge reduction instead of buying, I don't know, recycled bibs, which is a very good story to tell, but then at the end of the day, the reduction is very low. And then with the same tool, at the end of the event, you can report on the specific data you can collect. So it's like a traditional tool, but we add this specific part, which is, in my opinion, a very, very unique approach to help the people to really understand you should do the difference. Just deciding to do something different. Of course, we have to adapt, of course, but I think we don't know yet what the technology and innovation can really help us. So in order to, put in place the right adaptation, we should take into consideration the technology and the innovation.